What is up, guys? It's Doo Poker here, back for another video. Today we are going to be talking about how to play versus fish in the call bet line when we are the single raise pot at a position pre-flop raiser. So in this hand, I have ace 8 of clubs and I RFI under the gun, and my opponent, who's a fish, calls in the cutoff. Now the big blind calls as well, but he folds flop, so let's just focus on me and the fish. Now on the flop, we have to think about what is our c-bet strategy. Well, let's look at some data for the flop as a single raise pot at a position pre-flop raiser. So here we see from data the field, hijack, cutoff, and button versus OOP. What do you notice from fish? You notice that they are over folding and under raising. So two data points that incentivize us to c-bet more than theory. So we should be c-betting here small for range, and that's what we do. And my fish friend calls and the big blind folds. Now on the turn, we have another decision to make. What do we know about fish folding frequencies on the turn? Well, let's take a peek at some more data. We see the field as single raise pot in position pre-flop caller, hijack cutoff button versus out of position. We see that if we go small, the fish overcall. We also see if we go big, like an overbet, they overfold. So if you're bluffing here, you want to overbet. You never want to go small with bluffs. But something that's even more important than that is, what do you notice about their call bet range? We see them opening 15 to 20% more than theory. So let's look at also MDA for specific textures. Now I don't have this exact spot, but I do have small blind versus big blind, fish MDA. So let's take a peek at the board textures. Here we know the board was king 8-7, and then the 7 came on the turn. Remember, king of diamonds, 8 of diamonds, 7 of spades, and now it's the 7 of clubs. So what do we notice from texture from fish? We see from texture, if we go to turn paired, middle low, they're 53 weak. What does that mean? That means the board texture on a paired turn is going to be weaker overall. We also know, see, they're betting 52%. We also know from data that they are betting 52% in the call 30 bet line. So we have two data points that make us want to check. So we should always be checking turn here. So we check turn and our fish friend bets pot. So we know that this turn data point is good to call, and that they also bet turn more than theory, so we call. Now the river is the important point. The river comes a 6 of hearts. Now here I should always check, and let's see what my opponent does. I check to my opponent and he goes all in for 3x pot. Now we have to look at data. We're not going to have data for 3x pot because it's a rare line, but we can take a look at some other data. I don't have this exact position, but I have the field as the in position pre-flop caller, big blind versus small blind. What do you notice from the call bet line? Remember, the light green is bluffs with no pair, and the dark green is bluffs with pair. So we see after we c-bet small, they bet turn, and then they bet river, that they're over bluffing in the over bet line. Now we don't have bet 300, but we can make some educated guesses. We can see that because they overstab turn 20% more than GTO, and they also overstab turn more on the paired turn, they're weaker on that paired turn, and we take all that into account, and we have to understand that this is always a call. So what we have to understand is this: we are incentivized. Let's just go over a summary real quick of this hand. So on the flop, we have to understand that you do not range check because there's two data points that make us want to c-bet more than theory. Fish overfold against c-bets more than theory, and they also under raise. So two data points that make us want to be more aggressive on the flop. Now on the turn, we know they overfold to a double barrel. That's for OB sizing, but they overcall versus small sizing. So if you're bluffing the turn, you have to use overbet sizing. But we have showdown value, so we check. Now, when the paired turn comes, we know in general they are reopening the action 15 to 20% more than GTO, and they're even weaker on the paired turn, so we always check call turn. Now, on the river, we see in the call bet line that they are over bluffing for huge sizing. But we also have to think about MDA principles. The MDA principle is that texture is always more important than sizing. We know on the paired turn that they overstab. They also overstab more than theory. So we have to take all this into account, and we have to make the call. And what we see here is when he 3x pot jams, he has Jack 10 of spades, and we scoop the pot. All right, guys, I know that was a lot, but we got through it. In summary, c-bet more than theory because they overfold and under raise. On the turn, check your showdown value. If you're bluffing, overbet. Do not bet small. Overbet turn if you're bluffing. On the river, we know that texture supersedes sizing and that they also bluff in the overbet sizing, so we have to make the call with our ace-8 of clubs. If you enjoyed this, please give me a like. Please give me a subscribe. New video every single day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.